Folks, there is a very, very important Bible story that we read about in the book of Isaiah, chapter 39. It really did happen at a certain point in history, and it involves King Hezekiah. Now, I just want to simply say that these wicked and tyrannical leaders across our nation could learn a thing or two from the story. Now, the story is a bit inconsequential to this particular subject with respect to all of the details, the fine details, but let me just simply give you a quick summary. You can read about this. King Hezekiah makes a series of mistakes that put the future of the nation of Israel at jeopardy, particularly the southern kingdom. As a result, Isaiah goes to Hezekiah and says, "Thus saith the Lord, you and your family, or your family, future generations, are going to be dragged into Babylon." He doesn't say you and your family, he says your family. In other words, future generations. Not you at this moment, but people that come after you. Hezekiah's response was one that I think is quite typical of many of the mayors, and in particular some of the governors that surround our nation. And his response was tragic. It starts in the middle of Isaiah chapter 39. I think it's right around verse 5, where all of this happens. In the very last verse of Isaiah chapter 39, Hezekiah basically says, here's the deal. What you said is good. It's not a big deal to me. Why? Because it's not going to happen during my days. It's going to happen to future generations. Folks, this is exactly how wicked, evil, tyrannical leaders function. They will make whatever rules benefit them at the expense of the death of the future. We are all called by God to be people who care about and think about our future generations. Even if we know that Jesus Christ is coming soon, we still need to function as though there are future generations that will benefit from the things that we do. The problem is these tyrannical leaders are doing all kinds of evil things, and in their evil, they don't care because they know the consequence will not be directly tied to them in the moment in which they're in. They do not care about the death of the future. They are literally making their money off the death of the future. Case in point, let's talk about the Defund the Police movement, if that's what you want to call it. It's extraordinarily evil, and it's designed to federalize a police department to have full and complete control over all of the citizens of the United States. The people that are seeking to put this out don't really care because they are spending your money and my money on personal protection based on the police departments that provide them. So the same departments they're defunding are the same departments they are taking people from to protect themselves. Let me play this news story for you and prepare yourself, right? Listen to what they say in this story. It's actually quite heartbreaking.
In 2020, 22 officers in 2020 were dedicated to the executive protection detail. And the costs are up sharply over the course of 5 years, with an extra $750,000 being thrown at the program.
OTB requested data from 25 American cities. In San Francisco, the police department spent over $12 million between 2015 and 2020 to protect the mayor, while promising to cut $120 million for police. Baltimore spent nearly $3.7 million in 2020 for their executive protection detail, while eliminating about $22 million from its police budget.
In San Diego, in 2020, the city spent $2.6 million on their executive protection detail, while they stripped approximately $5 million out of the police budget.
Last year, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot defended extra security near her home, saying her family received threats of violence some families in Chicago live with every day.
It devastated me because I just remember the time when we could come outside, sit on our porch, and enjoy each other. I just really wish the violence would stop.
In all, 25 of the mayors that opened the book sent requests for information were Democrats. The National Desk email.
It is reprehensible to hear these stories. Lori Lightfoot says, we'll just eliminate lots of funds to the police, yet I will spend those same funds on my own personal police force to protect me. The mayor of Los Angeles is doing the same thing. The mayor of San Francisco. All of these people continue to do the evils that they do and yet demand for themselves protection that is far better than any protection afforded to the citizens of their cities or their states. Gavin Newsom, another example, which is why he needs to be recalled. Folks, I want to encourage you to start thinking about future generations. Let's make this battle. If you're not going to make it for yourself, let's make this battle for our children. I don't know about you, but I don't want my babies having to face the nonsense that we're beginning to see formulate. I want my children to be free to worship Almighty God, and I want my children to be raised up in the ways of the Lord, loving, caring for, and appreciating the police. I want them to be the type of people that know how important it is for law enforcement officers to not only be the best paid people, but to be the best trained, to be the most loved and most cared for individuals in our society. Why? Because if we don't have them, we don't have law and order. There are so many areas where this principle applies itself, you guys. In every area of our life, my encouragement to you is let's take some time to examine the places that if we act right now, we can leave a better situation for future generations. We need to rid ourselves of the critical race theory garbage in schools. We need to go out of our way to make sure that our future generations experience the blessings that God has for them, which is why we need to bring God back into the picture and not away from the picture. Enough is enough, guys. We are running out of time, and we need to do our very, very best to bring our best to our children and their children's children. That's God's desire for us, and that's his plan for humanity, that we continue to be fruitful and multiply and bring to them the best of what God has for them in every context. God bless you guys.